Hi guys, Duga here with a new video, and this video we're going to talk about evokers. So I've tested finally two specs, Devastation Evoker and Preservation Evoker in PvP. We did a lot of BGs, a lot of arenas, even Soul Shuffle. And I'm kind of ready to give a opinion about, because often whenever I was talking about most fun specs to play in PvP, Evoker were never really mentioned because I never really played it as well as other specs or other classes. I'm going to give you the pros and cons on both specs. I didn't play augmentation because augmentation is in the gutter anyways. If they made a few changes on the spec, maybe I will be playing it, but for now we're playing only those two specs. I'm going to talk pros and cons about those two specs, but also what is holding back Evoker to be very popular, I would say, to the mainstream of players going into Dragonflight. So, pros about Devastation Evoker is it is actually very fun to blast with a laser dragon, pretty much. Doing Disintegrate does a lot of damage. Fire Breath with Eternity Surge, those two abilities are very, very bursty, very fun to press, especially Fire Breath whenever you are actually having the talent which is Scouring Flame, which is also very fun, especially versus resto druids. And you see a lot of resto druids these days, so it's always fun to be able to play against them and being able to outplay them for some reason. If you know how to play versus a resto druid, or you play one as well, you would understand that Fire Breath could actually win you a game just based on that aspect alone. I feel like Rescue is a very fun ability. It is also a counterable ability with Roots, very fun as well. However, the more I use it, the more I find it very, very fun to use. And whenever I'm playing on my Shadow Priest, it feels like I'm very grounded, which is probably telling how Shadow Priest is currently. I've made a lot of videos about Shadow Priest. I might make a video like in this genre very soon. I think Chrono Loop is a fantastic ability that you can actually outplay a lot of stuff. If you're Chrono Looping someone and he gets like swapped, like void swapped, if I'm void shifted, it's actually like a big play you can make. That guy is like doomed. If you're doing it at the right time, you could actually just win games based on that. A very fun ability. Dragon Rage actually feels like a big CD. Whenever I'm using Dragon Rage, it does feel like I can spam Disintegrate all day long. I do a lot of damage in general. And I try to do Eternity Surges and Fire Breaths to extend the duration of Dragon Rage, so it's also very fun. Tip the Scales, also very fun. I feel like I use it most likely with Fire Breath. So what I do is I do a Shadowing Star into a Eternity Surge into a Tip the Scales with Fire Breath, and then I spam my Disintegrate with some Living Flames procs, like the instant one. It feels good. It feels good, but I'm going to say the Living Flame is a 2-second cast. It feels really terrible to cast it in most occasions. Of course, if you're doing a Venom Embrace, you can reduce it to 1.2 second and it becomes a bit more interesting. I have also a macro to target myself whenever I'm using Living Flame because I feel like it's more easy to navigate because of that. It's not like whenever you are not targeting yourself and you're targeting an enemy that you do a flash heal, it will heal yourself. Well, with Living Flame, since it's an ability that can also do damage, you cannot really heal yourself except with an ult, but I don't like to use ult, so I prefer to use a @player macro, helps me a ton as well. Very fun. Oppressing Roar, it's a big ability. If you're playing with a rogue, you're doing Oppressing Roar, it is a big kidney shot or a big cheap shot. It can make the difference. I find it fun to play around. Deep Breath is actually very, very fun to play. It does a lot of damage. It's surprising how much damage it can do. And if you're timing it really correctly, you can actually like avoid CDs, like for example Demon Hunter can do. The same with Metamorph. So it's also very fun. Quell 20-second CD on Interrupt is actually a good thing for a caster. It's actually faster than a Warlock, faster than a Mage. I think Mage gets a reduced CD whenever he successfully counter spell, I think, if I'm not mistaken. A spell lock. Shadow Priest has a long silence, which often is for the healer. Shaman is actually the best one, but it's a very low interrupt, so it's a 2-second interrupt or 3-second max. So Quell is like in between. and it's also very fun. I think Sleepwalk is really fun to play, but it gets countered by a lot of specs, by a lot of races as well. Because like Undead kind of counter Sleepwalk, but also you have totems, you have a lot of things that can actually just like ruin your Sleepwalk. But it's fun. It's fun. Landslide, I use it for rooting, but also often versus BMs. You can actually root the pets, and it helps you a bit. Overall, I think there are a few abilities where I feel like it doesn't really make sense too much to use it, especially if you're not talented to it. Like Pyre, I don't feel like it's that great. You could just like remove that talent if you're not playing, remove it off your keybinds if you're not playing with how it's called, Charge Blast, which is also a very fun one, but it's nerfed in PvP unfortunately. And it's more likely like more of an AoE option. If you're like trying to burst, you could do something there. Azure Strike actually deals a lot of damage in PvP. It's like 40k hits, and it's AoE, and it slows because of the blue aspect you have here. Your damaging blue spells reduce the target's movement speed by 50%. So it's actually very strong to actually spam it if you don't have any disintegrate and you don't feel like casting a living flame, which I understand, because again, you have to Verdant Embrace to cast it or have an instant one. You don't want to hard cast 2 seconds. It's too bad. You have some great off heals as a Devastation Evoker, so that's also a pro. Expunge is the worst self-dispel, I would say, in the game. It's only dispelling poisons, while I think Retribution Paladins can also dispel diseases, and they have like PvP talents that can actually also dispel magic. So again, it's not that great. It's not really worth the keybinds, to be honest. But the good thing is you have you have Controlling Flame, which I'm going to be honest, if someone is like playing an assassination rogue and he tries to do a death mark, you just instantly remove it with Controlling Flame, and it's a 1 minute CD. So basically, you will never get a death mark out on a evoker or whatever. You also can just remove a big feral frenzy on yourself or your allies. Can help also to survive. So I think you have tools. You have double obsidian scales, so double damage reduction abilities, which will give you a interrupt, silence, and pushback with those talents. I might make a guide very soon if I feel like I'm confident to talk about it. Right now, I'm still playing a lot like Devastation Evoker. In twos, I have like 1500, like very close to 1500, and I have 1535 in threes. Like I'm positive, like 17 wins, 13 losses. And in solo shuffle 6-6, I didn't do too much solo shuffle. I will be doing a bit more, but the one solo shuffle I did was very satisfying, and it was very fun to do. So the cons about Devastation Evoker is it feels like a bit one-sided in how you deal damage though. You basically spam Disintegrate. You try to do your essence abilities, which are like not the I mean the empowered abilities. I think it's called like this, with Fire Breath and 30 Surge whenever it's up. So you get like some utility. Trying to Shattering Star, it's a 4-second extra damage you can get, and you grant an Essence Burst with my talents, which is fun. So you can actually like beam someone with Disintegrate. It's very fun, but it's very one-sided though. If you don't like to press only one button, it feels like it is the BM hunters of casters pretty much. I know that it's like reductive to say that, but it's not always true. I have fun with BM, although it only has like a few buttons to press to do damage. But I think Devastation Evoker is not only dealing damage, it's also trying to be spacing with your movement speed, trying to have rescue to actually reposition, try to do a wing buffet to actually knock them away, try to tail swipe to interrupt someone. For example, if you don't have an interrupt, it knocks them in the air. It's actually very fun to have multiple PvP talents that are actually useful. Like you have Scarring Flame, you have Obsidian Metal, you have Chrono Loop. You can even play Time Stop, which is also insanely strong if you know how to use it. If you don't know how to use it, it feels like a ice block but worse pretty much, because you cannot heal someone that is time stopped, if I'm not mistaken. Swoop Up, interesting as well on a few maps. It's more fun on BGs, so you can actually swoop someone and then just knock them off. It's very fun. You have Unburdened Flight, which is super strong versus melees. I do play that, and it feels like they cannot catch me at all. Creeping Force, I tried to play that a bit. It feels a bit underwhelming, I'm going to be honest, but it's all right, I guess. Divide and conquer, you kind of screw yourself by using it because it also line of sights your healer. So you need to actually communicate with them by saying, look, I'm going to do a deep breath. You have to stand with me. But some people are not going to do that. That's why it's very good on Discord or on RBGs or in BGs. But you feel like in arenas you kind of lose games sometimes because of that. Dreamcatcher, fun. It makes your sleepwalk ability like spammable. It does make it a bit slower to cast. I don't feel like I need to spam a sleepwalk, but on some matchups, if the priest fades, because you can actually like play this, make him fade, and then you can just catch him again with a sleepwalk. That actually can help you. And Dreamwalker's Embrace is not that good as the Devastation Evoker, but it's a very fun ability to use as a Preservation Evoker, though. As Devastation, I rarely use it. You could use it, but it feels like you don't have enough PvP towns available to use. Overall, my cons about Evoker, like I said, like Devastation, you don't have a lot of abilities to press. But the ones you press has high impact. I think World of Warcraft is actually kind of going to that direction. You have good defensives, but people can break you through those defensives, so you cannot really count on it like all the time. Like Renewing Blaze, if you have a Mind Games on you, good luck. Obsidian Scales, it's quite nice, but it's a 30% damage reduction. It's not a big reduction. It is still there, but people can just go through it if they really want to. It feels like without a hover, you are very grounded, and you're like more grounded than a Shadow Priest. So you kind of have to not spend your hover too much, or like you have to use it with purpose and not always like because you want to cast something. Sometimes you have to have a hover to be able to do a good sleepwalk, for example, or if you want to hover away to kite, that's a good purpose. But if you're hovering away while you're not target, often or not you can actually just get targeted afterwards, and sometimes it will mean like you're going to lose a match. So overall, it's fun. I like it. I think the biggest con I have with like evokers in general, not also for preservation, is what the hell is that transmog, man? That you cannot be able to see your transmog, like your set is dumb. I think if you have organ in the game and actually they kind of share the set from their human form, why wouldn't a Draktyr also do the same? Like this, yes, you can make it more like in line with what you have, so you can put it like on the same colors, but I don't want to look like this. I want to look like this. I want to have those items on me, and I could have even better probably, but this is unfortunately not really fun. And it does seem like the sets are like a bit low effort because they know that, look, you're not going to see your set often in combat. But I do feel like it should be able to go on your character like how you can see. The only thing that you can change is the shoulders is like pathetic in my eyes. But that's my thing. Or like the belt and the shoulders, which is, again, I think it's not fun to have that. It should be the whole set on the evoker, and that's actually something I despise, and that's why I never really played evoker. It's because I don't like to see the model. Now whenever you're playing arenas or RPGs, you don't really look too much on your character, so it's fine, but it feels like a bit dumb that in Dragon I have to actually like toggle off and walk like this to feel like, look, I have a character that is really well geared and that I really enjoy to watch. But that's a minor thing, I guess. But for me, it's a big thing. I like to have like characters feel powerful. But I feel like whenever I'm turning into a Draktyr, it doesn't feel powerful. It feels like a lizard kind of on Halloween. So that's the one thing I don't like. Now let's talk about preservation really quickly. For the people that like healer specs, I think preservation is one of the most fun specs I have played, but also the most frustrating one. Let me explain. First and foremost, if you're new to Preservation Evoker, you're relying too much on Emerald Communion. It is not that good. Now that I play Preservation Evoker, now I understand that if someone is Emerald Communing, it's easier to hit the preservation evoker so that it doesn't heal the ally, because as long as the preservation evoker loses HP, the healing will not go to the injured ally. I didn't know that, but now I know. Unfortunately, I feel like the CDs are very strong, but every single heal that you do, like for example, Dream Breath, or your Spirit Bloom, or your Verdant Embrace with also Dream Breath together, your Echo, everything is a CD. And the only thing that doesn't have a CD and is okay to heal is Reversion, which is a hot, and you have Golden Hour as well as a talent, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's a bit like it's this one, so it instantly heals the target for 15% of the damage taken in the last 5 seconds. So imagine if someone gets a Chaos Bolt, it gets a good chunk of healing from that. But I kind of not like the fact that I have so many CDs to pop, and whenever I have to spam Living Flame, it feels really, really terrible. That this is really a terrible ability to press as a Preservation Evoker. I feel like it kind of needs like instant Living Flames. I think it's too big to not have that, but that's my opinion again. I think Verdant Embrace is such a fun ability, and it is tied to a Dream Breath. Like having a Verdant Embrace gives you Call of Ysera, then you have a big Dream Breath, which, let's be honest, you want to have an Echo as well. So if you're echoing into a Dream Breath, I'm clicking because my keybinds are not working. It's like, again, I need to reload, but I don't want to reload and lose time. It's fun to have a range interrupt as a healer, but it's a 25-yard one. It's a 40-second CD. You have Deep Breath, which is also a lot of damage. I think Preservation, what I like the most is you have a lot of damage and you have a lot of impact with the CDs you're using. But once you have no CDs, it is really terrible to heal. Like you for example, some healers that don't have CDs anymore, they can expend a lot of mana to heal for a lot. And then they lose a lot of mana, of course, by spamming those abilities. But I don't feel like if I have no Dream Breath, no Spirit Bloom, no Verdant Embrace, that I can reliably heal with Living Flame. Living Flame, even though it costs mana, I don't care about that. The problem is it doesn't heal for enough. So you have to echo into a Living Flame. But again, the casted ability is so long, it feels like a holy light from a paladin with less impact. Verdant Embrace, you don't want to like use your Living Flame on a Verdant Embrace. So you want to do is a Dream Breath, and then you're going to use a Living Flame. But if you're like smart, you can have another Verdant Embrace, and then you can just spam a Echo with a Living Flame. But again, it doesn't heal for enough, and I am kind of forced into going Mastery. But first and foremost, I'm playing Devastation, so I guess it's not that bad to go Mastery. But it feels way worse for a Preservation Evoker to not have Haste. Haste makes it a lot more fun to play because, again, your abilities, you want to being able to press it ASAP and as fast as possible. But overall, the pros on Preservation Evoker is you can play super aggressive, and in threes you can actually play with comps that actually helps you to play aggressive. So the comps I would prefer to play as a Preservation Evoker if I was playing Preservation Evoker in threes would be Rogue Mage, or a Rogue Boomy, or Rogue something. Pretty much. Rogue can actually help you because, again, they have the CC to complement your style of healing, but they also have, like, again, if you're playing with Subtlety Rogue, they don't really die. So you have the leisure to make them use CDs if you don't have the healing throughput. While if you have the healing throughput, because you are like still having a lot of CDs like your Dream Breath, your Spirit's Bloom, your Verdant Embrace, your Echo, your Stasis, that makes healing way easier. But once those CDs are used, you have nothing else, and it feels also very, very killable. Like Preservation Evoker, I feel like most games I lose is because someone switches on me. and then I have like no options, or I like wall way too late, or I use my renewing blaze not good enough, for example. So maybe it's like a me problem. It's probably a me problem. I would probably have to play with time stop. But again, you have so many good talents that it really is hard to choose the right ones. Like for example, Dreamwalker's Embrace in 2s is a perfect talent, but in 3s, maybe it is not really that great. Maybe you should just remove it and take something that is more helping for you and your team. Overall, I think it's still a fun spec, but I do feel like it needs a buff. It's not really strong. I think people are like overestimating Preservation Evoker because of BGs, and yes, in BGs it is one of the strongest healers. I would say in RBGs it is the most meta healer with monks, but in arenas it is really not the case, I think. And that's probably the difficulty behind trying to balance evokers, like in general, because they do perform very well in BGs, and if you're buffing it even more for arenas, it will feel like insane in BGs as well. So again, it's difficult, and I understand that, but they need a buff somehow, some way towards the CDs, or at least like take a bit of power from Dream Breath and from Spirit Bloom to give it back to, let's say, Emerald Blossom, or a Reversion, or Living Flame being a faster cast, for example. I did like understand that time dilation is something I have to press way faster. It's a 1-minute CD, but it's actually a very high impact ability. The same for Emerald Communion. I should not cast it whenever like everyone is low. It should be casted way faster, because if you're low, you will heal first you and then your allies. It's way better to press Emerald Communion if you are the target, for example. Stasis is something very strong, but you have to do a correct order. So if you have stasis, what you want to do is basically a echo. No, not echo. So you should actually go for Verdant Embrace into a dream, echo into a Dream Breath. So you have like double Dream Breath, for example. But now I kind of ruined it. But so you have to do stasis into Verdant Embrace into echo into Dream Breath, and then you have like double Dream Breath. Which is a lot of healing, but again, that's part of the process. I've kind of tried to learn Evoker. I do enjoy my time as Evoker for some reason. I try to find like good comps in 3s. I think it's a very fun spec, like Devastation and Preservation is a very fun healing spec, but it is lacking on the balancing part. It feels now weird to play Shadow Priest because of how good Devastation is and Preservation is with their mobility, and it kind of shows the gap between modern specs and specs that are really from another time, which is Shadow Priest, to be honest. But again, thank you for watching this video. It was me rambling pretty much. I'll try to get some gameplay on the second channel, so if you want to subscribe to the second channel for more like BG, raw BG gameplay, some raw arena gameplay, try to subscribe to there. I will try to upload way more videos there, like just raw footage from BGs and arenas. Here I will try to do a bit more concise with commentary and with trying to make people learn the game. But the second channel would be like more of a showcasing what a spec could do in those situations. That's all. But again, thank you for watching this video. Really appreciate you. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that yet. We will catch each other probably very soon in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.